Hello everyone, and welcome to today's demo on demand, where we'll be looking at conceptClassifier for SharePoint using the new Addin technology. My name's John Challis. I'm CEO and CTO here at Concept Searching, and I'm delighted to be telling you today about this new version of our product using the latest technology from Microsoft. Basically what we're talking about is adding metadata to documents in a SharePoint environment. And poor metadata leads to a number of problems with unstructured content. And one of the ways to tackle that is to automatically apply metadata to documents using term set structures or taxonomy structures. And I think it's fair to say that Concept Searching is widely acknowledged as one of the leading providers of auto-classification products. And we have hundreds of installations in the SharePoint environment already. But those current installations are based upon SharePoint solutions. For on-premises customers, we're talking about a full trust, farm-wide solution. For Office 365 customers, we're talking about a sandbox solution. And although those products work very well, they are, of course, now deprecated by Microsoft. And we're being encouraged to re-implement our products using what was called the SharePoint app model is now called the SharePoint Addin model. And today I'm talking about our new implementation. The same product works in the Office 365 environment as well as for SharePoint 2013 on-premises customers. And of course we've tested it with the pre-release versions of SharePoint 2016 as well. So this will be a single product from us that works across all of those environments, and I'll be demonstrating that product to you today. Existing customers don't have to switch to the Addin product straight away, although that's certainly an option that they can do whenever they want to. And again, new customers have the choice of using the SharePoint solution product if they want to. But I think in the main, new customers, there's really no reason not to go straight for the Addin product, given that it is the newer technology going forward. There are some advantages to the app model compared to the older SharePoint solution models. It is a little bit faster in terms of updating SharePoint metadata. It doesn't use any SharePoint resources, which is an important consideration for Office 365 customers. We don't want to be using up SharePoint resources if we don't have to. It requires generally less configuration than the SharePoint solution model, particularly because SharePoint sources don't require explicit credentials, crawling credentials to be defined, because the security model is handled by the app automatically. So it makes life a little bit easier in terms of implementing. As with all things, our products are designed to be used by subject matter experts or IT teams. And as with our previous products, when we implement with the app model, I'm delighted to say that when we add metadata to content in SharePoint, of course we don't trash the modified username or date when we make those updates, because we use a system update to push those values into the documents. So what I'd like to do is actually demonstrate the product for you today. So let's get rid of PowerPoint for a moment and take a look at how we actually deploy the app. So the installation is very, very straightforward. Deploying the add-in, in this case I'm going to push it into our Office 365 multi-tenant location. And to do this, I do need to be a tenant admin to add the app at the tenancy scope. But as we'll see, when we enable the app at the site collection level, you simply need to be a site collection admin and not a tenancy admin. So the first thing I have to do is enter the URL. And as I said, I'm going to use Office 365 for this demonstration. So that's conceptsearching.sharepoint.com. And I'll specify the app catalog. into my credentials. And the first thing we do is validate that those credentials are good enough to deploy the add-in, and they are. And then I need to say where the concept searching query server is running. And of course, this is not running on the SharePoint online farm because we can't implement our technology on Office 365. So we're running somewhere else on the internet, perhaps on an Azure hosting environment. And this is where the actual classification happens. So the bulk of the document processing is not happening on the SharePoint farm. So we're not slowing down SharePoint when we auto-classify documents, because that processing is happening on a separate dedicated server. And we need to let the app know where that server is going to be. It does need to be deployed on an HTTPS implementation using TLS 1.2 for security reasons. That's a Microsoft requirement, that reaching out is to a secure web server only. So I specify the URL of that location, and again, that's validated. And then to do the install, I'm presented with some configuration information, and in particular the client ID needs to be used for configuration at the concept searching end, and so we can easily save those values, copying them to the clipboard. I can choose to deploy the SharePoint app that implements our tree view control if I want to. This is a completely optional SharePoint add-in that just allows you to implement term set browsing as part of your custom search pages if you want to. So I'm going to select that as well. And then we just run some pre-installation checks, and then I can do the install. And as you see, it literally just takes a few seconds to deploy the app to the SharePoint farm. And there we are, that's completed successfully. So let's close our installer and now switch to looking at SharePoint. And I'm going to the same location, conceptsearching.sharepoint.com, in this case the root site collection. And what I'm going to do is add the app to this particular site collection. So let's choose Add an App. And here's our app that I've just deployed to the farm. And so I'm going to go ahead and add that. And I just need to confirm that I trust this app. And there we are. It's adding the app. Just takes a moment or two to do that. And once we've done that, we're ready to get started with configuring SharePoint to perform auto classification. And the processes here are identical, regardless of whether you're using the SharePoint solution approach or if you're using the newer add-in approach. All we need to do is go to the term store and deploy our term sets. And I'm going to be working with 2 or 3 different term sets on today's demonstration, IPSC in particular. And so we need to load our taxonomies into the term store. We provide some tools to do that for you. If you have those existing in XML formats or Excel spreadsheets or something else, we can provide some tools to get your structures into the term store. But then we're going to want to work with Taxonomy Manager, because this allows us to create the auto classification rules that decide, which terms are going to be applied to each document. And we have a number of webcasts available that show you how to use Taxonomy Manager. And I'm not going to repeat all of that here for you today. If you'd like to see how Taxonomy Manager works, please refer to some of our other webcasts for detail. But what I want to point out here is that in addition to the taxonomy structure we see on the left-hand side, we have a set of rules for each term, in this case a set of vocabulary that allows us to recognize when a document is about, in this case, climate and weather. But if we go back to the term store, we can see that not only is the data structure in the term store, but actually the classification rules are in there as well, stored as custom properties. And crucially, this is the only place that this data is stored. We don't replicate this information on the concept searching server. Because if we did that, we'd have duplicate data. We'd have to worry about data integrity and synchronizing two sets of data. But we completely avoid all of those problems by storing the data in the SharePoint term store and only in the SharePoint term store. And that's true whether we're talking about on-premises implementation or, as in this case, a Office 365 implementation. And then once I've deployed my taxonomy structures and configured my rules in Taxonomy Manager, then of course I need to create some site columns to receive the metadata in SharePoint. The site columns can be called anything we want to, but they're going to be of type managed metadata. And note that we use the standard managed metadata property type, not some custom version built on top of the managed metadata property type. And that ensures consistency both within the standard SharePoint environment as well as with any other add-ons from third parties that you might be using. By using the standard managed metadata property type, we ensure compatibility with all of your other SharePoint code. And we can configure these site columns any way we want to. We can allow multiple values or not as we wish. We can select which term set is tied to the site column. We could even choose a non-root entry if we wanted to. So that the site column was based on a sub-section of the root if I want to, but I'm going to choose the parent. And we can do things like set default values and so on if we want to. Any of the settings here are completely valid. And then once we've configured our site columns, we simply need to tell concept searching which taxonomies it should take control of. So we can have any number of term sets and site columns configured. But we simply use the checkboxes here to tell concept searching which ones we want to be auto-populated. And these are the only ones that concept searching will then write to. So very straightforward to configure. Most of the configuration is done using standard SharePoint functionality in the term store, in configuring site columns, in deploying those site columns using the content type hub if we want to. And then when we're finished, as I said, we just tell concept searching which site columns and which term sets it should take control of. So to complete the demonstration for you today, let's go ahead and upload a few documents and see the end result. So what I'm going to do is just drag and drop a few documents into this location here. And what you'll see is that the documents are not auto-classified during the bulk upload. And that's because if we tried to do that, it would slow down the bulk upload. We could potentially have timeouts in a synchronous operation like that if a lot of users were bulk uploading simultaneously. But we avoid all of those issues by doing it asynchronously. And what we do is we use event receivers to notify the concept searching server when documents are added or edited or deleted in the SharePoint environment. And as a result, we can step in and auto-classify documents very quickly, usually within literally a minute or two of the documents being uploaded. Now, the initial processing does, of course, involve fetching the documents from SharePoint, converting them, getting the text out, classifying them, and pushing the metadata back in. And that can take a while when we first crawl your SharePoint farm, especially if you've got hundreds of thousands or millions of documents. But as you add documents on a day-to-day basis, it's very easy to keep up in real time or very near to real time. So while I've been talking, I think concept searching's had enough time to process those documents. And if I refresh my browser, we should see that the metadata has been applied automatically, literally within a minute of bulk uploading those documents. And now we can see that in each case, concept searching has decided which of the terms from the IPSV, the enterprise, and the workflow term sets are applicable to each document. So that's it, the same functionality as we've been offering for many years now on the SharePoint environment, but using a different type of technology, different kind of plumbing, if you will, so that we can eliminate the full trust solution or the sandbox solution and replace it with the SharePoint Addin as per Microsoft's long-term technology strategy. but the functionality is exactly the same as it has been for many years. So if I just switch back briefly to my PowerPoint, I would just like to mention that we have a number of demo on demands in this series, including the introduction to the term store manager, which takes care of migrating term sets from one farm to another. A taxonomy manager, which gives an overview of the rule creation process and some of the very sophisticated technology we offer to make that easy for subject matter experts. We have the same technology available for the Google Search appliance. We can cover hybrid scenarios where customers have some on-premises as well as some online solutions, and in some cases involving OneDrive for Business, which is a fully supported option as well. Well, thank you very much for watching today's short webcast. I hope that answered your questions about what we've been doing with our SharePoint add-ins, and confirmed that the functionality of the product is virtually identical, regardless of which implementation you choose to go with. Thank you very much.